Okie dokie. So here we are. I'm going through my example of your assignment, the assignment that you're supposed to do. What is asked in the assignment is to analyze a website as you would be, say, an analyst, okay, working for a company. In this case, we have Google Merchandise Store, Google Analytics. One important thing is to have clear that what is in Google Merchandise Store, Google Analytics, is a set of different raw data. What does it mean? These data are related to all the access to the website. So every time someone accesses the website, there is a recording of using the website. Sorry, please, Eric, can you lower your hand so that we can, because otherwise it will continue to appear all the time in the screen. So I was saying, it is important that you realize that raw data that are collected via the access to the website. So we have, every time people access, it establishes how long it takes for people to get out. And so it calculates the time for the session. It also calculates the bounce rate. It also calculates the lot of other information that you have seen, I showed you. In addition, there are further information on the left side, okay, in terms of consumer behavior, how the type of, say, the age of the consumers as well. There is a range of raw data. So you as an analyst need to make sense of these data. So to every type of question that you have, you need to find a solution, okay? This is the way in which I would suggest approach your assignment. This is because this is the way in which you are going to use the website or a website if you work for a company in digital marketing. So when you access the website, ask yourself what this data can tell me. This is what I suggested in this document. If you see these documents online, okay, which I've already uploaded for your benefit, it was on Friday I uploaded this. Excuse me just for a moment. Eric, please, can you lower the hand so that this little thing disappears? Because even if I disappear, it comes back again. Thank you. So this document is for you to understand what is a minimum requirement, okay, which is a satisfactory minimum requirement. If you have a look at your assignment brief, you will see that at the end, there's assessment criteria. So how you will be assessed. The assessment related to, say, different description of what you could do and what could not do, in the sense what are the gaps, okay, that you have not fulfilled, and what is the minimum requirement, and how to do, so what to include if it is additional. Obviously, in a general description, you cannot add every single detail of the assignment, but giving you a minimum requirement, you will understand what is expected as a minimum, okay? And then everything that you do in addition, obviously depends on the scale, it depends on the type of cognitive process, because this is very important, the knowledge, the cognitive process, communication. It's not about how many techniques or how many descriptions or how many tables you have put in your assignment. It is how you have done it, the reasoning behind the assignment, the explanations, and the process of doing the technique. So, and what the technique is, because if you have a question and I say, what is the bounce rate, what is the relationship between, say, the bounce rate, instead of saying what is, I could say, is there any relationship between those two variables? Can these two variables tell me something? Question. The way in which you answer this question, okay, or this objective, can tell us is if you understood the process and what you have done to answer the question, okay? So it's the process, how you explain it, that can make the difference. It's not just the quantity, okay? So the example of the report, I gave you again all the first page of the report, what you need to include in this first page. Example of the abstract, this is optional, so don't, if it is optional, if you are comfortable of doing it, do it. If not, please don't. Content page, very straightforward, you know what you need to do, this is not a big issue. Then the introduction. The introduction is a very important part of your assignment, because the introduction sets the scene of your assignment and will tell us what you are going to do. I gave you here several examples of what you could do, and you can take these examples and go and do your assignment, okay? So whatever you decide to do, that's whatever question, okay, as long as it is feasible, okay, this is important, that something has to be feasible, something that you have the time, the space, and the ability to do. So don't be over-ambitious with setting aim and objectives that are very elaborated. Go first with something that you can achieve, and then if you are more confident whilst you are doing it, you can always something more, and you can improve your skills, okay? And you can improve the quality of your assignment as well. So when we talk about the aim, I put here an example. And if the aim is a bit general, that can be very helpful, because you can include different types of objectives, because the website, as I said yesterday, is like you are the inspector for an estate agency, and you have to inspect a house and then say back, okay, this house is in good condition and the value is X, Y, and Z, to £300,000, for example. How can you do that? You enter in the house, you have a look at the entrance, the condition of the walls, you get into the kitchen, you get into the lounge, the bedrooms, the bathroom, and you inspect the conditions of all of that. If you enter only one room, you don't have the full understanding of the house. The same applies to this assignment. You are going to understand and inspect the website of Google Merchandise Store, Google Analytics. So out of these, okay, you can set some objectives, what would be relevant, useful for the company to know about their website, so that they can improve the website. So some of your colleagues asked me, oh, cannot we just, why cannot we use only one set of data? This is exactly the reason why you can't use only one set of data. You can use one set of data, fine, and you can do more than one, say, analysis and understanding. That's fine. But one set of data tell us only what that set of data has got. But the website may have other combinations. And therefore, this other combination may tell us something more. So each set of data is like a room in the house, okay? So obviously, you don't have to do all of everything or all of them. I set here the minimum requirement so you can show us about your understanding of the techniques. So you don't have, and as I said, don't be overly ambitious. Just try with the first 2 or 3 objectives. If you find that you are confident to do more, absolutely fine. It will improve the quality of your assignment. Yeah, but start with what you can do, and that will make a difference also in your confidence to do a good type of assignment. Okay. So, talking about the aim of the report, I said here an example could be analyze Google Merchandise Store consumers and potential consumers' interest in the company website. So under this aim, under this umbrella, you can have different questions. For example, having a look at the variables, okay, that we have analyzed during these weeks, you can see, say, and you can just start thinking about what is the consumer engagement with our website in different countries. So that question, okay, answers part of this aim, which is absolutely fine. It just, or for example, is the level of engagement different among consumers group in different countries? So you are setting 2 objectives, that is, you are setting 2 questions that you can answer with the techniques you know. So it's a bit like doing a recipe, having a look at a recipe, a book for a kitchen book, okay, in which you want to make a cake. So again, don't think, oh, some people think that you have to have a lot of mathematical skills. Well, it's not a question of math. It's a question of, because, okay, there is math, but the mathematics is behind, okay, the techniques. The technique, it's like when you do a recipe and you said, oh, I've never cooked a cake before. What shall I? I've never baked a cake. What shall I do? So you read in the book and they say, these are the ingredients. So in terms of ingredients, what we have instead, we have tools. We have SPSS, we have Excel, we have Google Analytics website, okay, that are the various type of ingredients. And then we have other tools, like, for example, other ingredients or end tools, because it depends on how you define each. Like, for example, the techniques of the ANOVA test, the t-test, the cross-tabulation, all of these, okay, are the tools that we can use in order to answer these questions. So when we do this, when we answer the question is, okay, if I want to know the relationship between 2 variables, which tools can I use? I can use more than one, okay? If I want the relationship between 2 variables, I can use a cross tabulation if I want to know numbers of how many of one are in the other, are related to the other. If I want to, I can use a correlation. I can use an ANOVA test. It depends, or it depends on what I want to achieve. If I want to, it's the same like when you say, okay, I want to use a liquid cream, fine. But in other cases, you want to have whipped cream, okay? So if you want to use the cream as it is, you can do a cross-tabulation. But if you want to have more elaborated data, you can have, say, regression analysis, okay? So again, see these techniques as tools for you to use in order to understand concepts. Because at the end of the day, what we are going to do is understanding concepts. And out of these concepts, you can make decision for your marketing. Okay, so let's go ahead here. If I want to translate these objectives into, these questions into objectives, what shall I do? I simply put them in a different format. So what is the consumer engagement with our website in different countries? Objectives: evaluate consumer engagement with the company website in places where the website is available, which means different countries, okay? So what do you need there? You need a data set that includes the countries, okay? So you download a data set that includes the country for a certain period of time, obviously, that is important. So you have all these countries on the side. And then you can understand within these countries how these variables work together. Okay? So, for example, okay, let's finish here. So, as I said before, and I put here very clearly, these examples of the 2 questions and 2 objectives would represent a minimum requirement. Okay, this is to answer also this question. If you say, is 2 objective enough to get a good mark? 2 objectives are the minimum requirement, but to get a good mark, it's not just the 2 objectives. You may have even 10 objectives. It depends on how you explain the concept. We are talking about always about that. Is your understanding that counts, okay? 2 objectives is the minimum requirement. Minimum requirement, you can have a look at what it is in the marking criteria. Marking criteria that are exactly in here, okay? These are the minimum requirement criteria. For a range satisfactory, minimum requirement. Okay, so go in the brief, have a look at the minimum requirement. Everything that you include above these, it will have a higher consideration. However, as I said, it depends on the cognitive process and the level of knowledge, because you may have five objectives, and then your analysis is not appropriate. So it doesn't matter if there are 5 or 2. It's better having 2 and do well than having several and not doing well. So it's better that you start with 2, 3 maximum. And then if you feel more confident, more comfortable, you can always add more, okay? So this is my point. And this is to avoid, for you to take things step by step. So going back to where we were, Obviously, 3 or more objectives require further analysis above the minimum requirement, okay? So, because if you have 4 objectives and you do exactly the same type of analysis, well, there is not much difference between 2 objectives and 4 objectives, because the type of analysis that you have done has made a little difference. It's in the sense, have you analyzed different variables? Have you used different techniques? This is the point. So it's important that if you add more than 2 objectives, you need also to add different analysis. If you repeat the same, what is the key point, okay? So guys, I finish this and then I answer your question, okay? That is better, because otherwise I have to interrupt all the time. So if we are talking about the first objective, and the first objective relates to consumer engagement, and so the first question is consumer engagement, and the first objective is consumer engagement. For continuity, I can have a first session, consumer engagement, the first section in my assignment. So, what can you do to answer this question, to fulfill this objective? You can explain at the beginning, okay, give some description of what you are doing in this particular, in order to fulfill this objective. So you say, in order to understand consumer engagement, sorry, Eric, do you want to say something?
No, ma'am. Nothing.
Please, can you lower your hand? Okay, thank you. Okay, so if we are talking about consumer engagement, you have to make an explanation of what you're going to do. And then you continue and say here, as I said to you, the minimum requirement is, say, talk about frequencies. You can add some frequencies. Although, as I said to you, it gives you some time. It depends on which variable you use. It's a very long list, but it doesn't matter. You can do the frequencies. You can do a cross-tabulation or a correlation. Example of here, the frequencies of session in the website to identify the country with high traffic. This could be one solution, and that explains, say, the engagement in different countries. Or you can do a correlation of the time per session and the bounce rate, or the correlation of the time per session and the page per session, okay? So in order for you to understand, and here there is an explanation, because you need to also explain what you're doing. If I give you an example, correlation of the time per session and bounce rate, that is to understand if there is a possible relationship between those two. As I said yesterday, one was going up, the other one was going down. Okay, so the explanation of what you are doing and what you're supposed to do. Okay, I can see that Sami is here, and I'll give Sami some space to explain to you. Good morning. And in order to explain to you what he would like to inform you about. Okay, so I stopped the recording. Do you want me to record, Sami?